Today's video, we're going to talk about, do PMax campaigns cannibalize clicks from your search campaigns? And the answer is yes. Yes, they do. The reason for that is because Google prefers PMax over all other campaign types that you're running as standalone campaigns in your account because they want to hide the data from you as to what you're actually paying for, because PMax does that beautifully. And to increase quarterly profits every year and keep raising the amount of money that they're bringing in from their ad platform, they need to be able to hide what they're doing to people, which is making them pay for more per click, but nowadays more stuff that you don't want or need, and hoping that people just buy it anyway because the part of what they do want, they can't run away from. So with that said, PMax is going to be preferred over regular search campaigns because the search term data in regular search campaigns is readily apparent for the most part, or at least a lot more so than in PMax campaigns, whereas PMax campaigns it's very limited. That's in general what's going on with why Google's doing this. So with that said, I'm going to go into just how much PMax is going to steal away from a search campaign, so you have some sort of idea about what to do about this, and in general what to do about it in general, how you should be setting up your campaigns moving forward in today's environment. Should you have search and PMax running together? Should you just have PMax by itself? I'm going to go over all that in today's video with some case studies. If you stay to the end of the video, I will explain what those are, where we've actually did both, where we just had PMax, just had search campaigns, and that's it. So with that said, if you do not know who I am Corey. I'm an owner of Guaranteed PPC, an online advertising agency that offers guaranteed results to their clients. That is, we do not charge our clients management fees until we get them a certain minimum lift in the profitability up front in excess of the management fee itself, which should tell you something about the quality of the information and advice you're receiving on today's video. With that said, getting into the content here. So yes, you are going to have an issue with PMax taking over clicks from your search campaigns basically every single time. Would be running a PMax and search campaign at the same time. Now, why is that? The reality is Google, like with shopping campaigns, like to run as much of as possible of that budget from the shopping, from the search through the PMax campaign. As I mentioned before, as well as presumably Google likes how it can hide the search term data. This isn't published anywhere. Most other people don't have the balls to actually mention what Google's motivations are when they do the things that they do. I'm just being practical about this. If a search campaign that's meant to do just search, why are they going to steal clicks away from that to send it through a PMax campaign, which is a generalist campaign that isn't set up to, you can't customize the search ads nearly as well. The only reason for it would be they just have a hard-on for running everything through PMax. And why do they have that? Well, the main thing is they want to raise revenue every quarter. And in order to do that, they got to sell more ad space. And if people know they're paying for crap, they aren't going to be able to pay. They're not going to want to pay for it anymore. They're not going to fool anybody to paying for it. If they could group it in, what they like to do is take something that's working, wrap the dog shit on top of it. And then ultimately you have to buy both. That's what they want to do. That's their big current 2020's game plan in order to raise revenue predictably every quarter, is to get people to pay progressively for more and more crap, and you will pay for it because you're getting some good out of it. There's going to be a point where they can't do it anymore, but I will tell you personally, 70% of people that I run across that I audit their Google Ads accounts anymore, they don't even have the tracking set up right. So they don't even know what they're making. Is it making money? Is it losing money? So ads don't have to make money for Google to get people to just spend more. People just have a gut feeling that it works. They get calls. They ask people, where did the call come from? Oh, Google. Okay, great. And then they assume it works. And they're just going to throw a set amount of money at it every month, and that's it. Ultimately, if the calls go down, they know that people will spend more to get back what they had before, and they could just ultimately set things up where they have more junk traffic, and then they'll spend more to get back where they were. And that's kind of like the Google game Google has been playing. We know that specifically because of all the antitrust lawsuits that came out recently about squashing, and I've got videos that I made specifically about this. Now, I'm still 100% believer in the Google ad system. Google plays all these games. At the end of the day, that you can make millions of dollars a year running your Google ads successfully. You just have to be able to navigate around all the crap And for that matter, all the crap is your opportunity, because the average guy wants it to be easy. They want it to be simple. And so if you just pay attention to what's going on with these changes, you can weed out all the crap that they're trying to get everybody to buy, and you'll have the return and they won't. It's really that simple. I want it to be complex, not just because it's my job here at our agency to sell agency services, but with our e-commerce businesses that we own, I don't want guys to come in 5 minutes. We're done in 5 minutes after setting up our campaign. If that was the case, everybody would have the same opportunity. Everybody would get the same crappy return. I want there to be able to be a way to get awesome returns at the expense of other people by doing better and understanding it better. So with that rant out of the way, okay, Google's gonna want to run PMax for the search campaigns. How much does PMax now cannibalize search campaigns in terms of the total search traffic that you want in your space when you're running PMax and search in combination in your Google Ads account? With ROAS targets being the same, so if you set that search campaign as what we found with our experimentation here, with a 500% ROAS in that search campaign, and then you had a 500% ROAS with your PMax campaign, okay, what we've seen is about 20 to 50% of your search traffic is going to go through the PMax campaign, at least short term. Eventually, the algorithm is just above all else, and putting aside everything I just said on this video about what Google's playing, they know they can't shoot themselves in the foot and bite the hand that feeds them. The hand that feeds them is the users that come to Google search engine and click on their ads. Otherwise, they have nothing to sell. If they started showing shitty ads just to make more money short term, people would quit clicking on the ads and they'd have nothing. So they still, at the end of the day, want to push advertisers who help their users more than the other advertisers, so that people as a whole get the best experience possible, so they'll want to click on ads in the future. So if Google's trying to push the search traffic through PMax and they realize their search campaign gets better click-through rates and better conversion rates than the PMax campaign, they're eventually going to push everything through the search campaign. But not until they try to run as much as possible through the PMax campaign. Let's just say half the traffic. So that should put into perspective how this can work. For that matter, you'll notice if you are running just PMax campaigns for an e-commerce business, you'll notice that if you go type in your own keywords, you'll see your shopping ads and your search ads show up, probably both. If you're talking about keywords that are obvious, grand slam dunk type of keywords that should be monetizable for your brand, such as if you sold Air Jordans and the keyword buy Air Jordans, if you're bidding on that keyword, you're probably going to show up in both places. So you may say, well, if that's the case, why don't you just run PMax campaigns instead of PMax and search campaigns? And the answer to that question is, you could get much, much better results with search campaigns than you can running for search placements than you can through your PMax campaign, because you could set up more sophisticated search campaigns with more levers and switches that you can manipulate. You can do, and I'm not going to go into all the ways that the things you could do to make a search campaign really, where you can be above your competition in terms of ad rank when you have the ability to have all the levers and switches a standalone search campaign has. But the main one is you can do single keyword ad groups where you write custom handwritten ad copy for every keyword that you're targeting. And you could target not a few terms, but a few hundred terms. So you have handwritten ad copy for every variant of every search in your whole niche. And then as a result of that, your ad's going to stand out as getting much more click-through rate than your competition, because most people, the number one thing people want from your ad when they see it is, does this ad work? Is it relevant for me? And when somebody's searching for crawl space encapsulation services, they don't want to damn well see an ad that says foundation and crawl space repair. They want to see crawl space encapsulation services. That's it. That's what they want to see above all else, to know that they have an ad that is going to help them when they're trying to decide on what ad to click on of the four. That's going to always stand out the most. I don't care what anybody says. Everybody wants a relevant ad before anything else, and they don't want to think very hard to know the ad is relevant. So you go ahead and you set the search campaigns up, understanding Google is going to try to push a bunch of the search campaign traffic through your PMax campaign, but eventually reverse course and send most of the search campaign traffic back to the standalone search campaign. And that process may take years to complete, but it's worth it, because Single keyword ad group campaigns by themselves will typically get, whereas if the market has an average 4% click-through rate on the search traffic coming from the search placements, we're going to get 10 to 15% click-through rate by having the single keyword ad groups. A, having the single keyword ad groups itself, but B, also knowing how to write good ad copy that works. So we're going to have triple the click-through rates than our average player in the market. And because of that, our ads are always going to work. We're going to be in that top 10% tranche of advertisers that then Google wants to lay it on thick for them to encourage them to stay around. So, and it's a waiting game. You set up the campaigns and you have to wait for the algorithm to ultimately figure this out for yourself. Then you're going to get Google to do what you want it to do, which is to run the ads through the search campaigns. Now, on the flip side here, you may say, well, why would you want to run PMax and search campaigns at the same time? Why not just run the search campaigns? The answer to that question is because when you're talking about e-commerce businesses specifically, you will do better running your shopping traffic or shopping placements through a PMax campaign. Specifically something called a feed-only PMax campaign setup, which you can search for online or search on my channel homepage for that video in the search bar, because it has more machine learning built into the process and does better than a standalone shopping campaign will or get for you. You'll make more profit overall running shopping placements through a PMax campaign than you will through a standard shopping campaign. So if you're an e-commerce business, you will run a PMax campaign for the benefits of of what it does for shopping placements for your business. And you will run a search campaign for the benefits of what it does for search placements for your business, knowing that some of the search traffic is going to be cannibalized by the PMax campaign, at least temporarily, because you just got to deal with that drawback. It's better to deal with that drawback than running a standard shopping campaigns, because in most markets, 50 to 75% of your profit is going to come from shopping placements in e-commerce markets. So, and the difference between a PMax and a regular shopping campaign for shopping placements, we're talking about making 2 to 3 times as much money from PMax for your shopping placement to run your shopping placements than you will with a standard shopping campaign. So, with that said, you have to sacrifice some of your search campaign clicks getting cannibalized and picked up by the PMax campaign short term, because the PMax campaign is going to do the shopping so much better, shopping placements so much better for you, and shopping placements are where most of the money is for e-commerce businesses. Now, if you're talking about non-e-commerce businesses where you're doing lead generation basically, there's no reason to do PMax campaigns. There is zero reason whatsoever to do PMax setups. As long as, or unless you're talking about like just hypothetically saying, I only have 5 minutes to set up a campaign and that's it. If that's you, perhaps a PMax campaign would be good to run for you because you only have so much time, and given a search campaign takes some time to set up correctly, that would be the only scenario where for lead generation campaigns, non-e-commerce businesses, you would want to run PMax for that business. And the reason for that is because the placement of your ads, of your search ads through that PMax campaign is going to be wild. It's going to show up for all kinds of weird that you don't want to show up for, because Google, going full circle on what I said earlier, is trying to sell ad placements that nobody wants, hiding it from and with the obscurity of what a PMax campaign does, which hides the search term data, that is what people are typing in before clicking on the ad, from you, in order to raise their quarterly revenue and hit their next quarterly revenue targets. Because they can only raise the cost per click on clicks so much before people are just not, they're going to say, fuck it, I don't want your traffic at all. I don't care what. They're only going to pay so much. The market's only going to bear so much. They could gradually raise the cost per click still some every year, because their machine learning algorithm's getting better and better and better at understanding what part of the market buys and who doesn't buy, and then selling the part that buys at a higher rate, but they're still taking a hit on the market that doesn't buy, because ultimately they can't, with the smart bidding, they can't sell that ad space anymore. So what are they doing to make up for that is to take the portion of the traffic they know that doesn't convert because they have low ad rank, because they have website, and they just send it all to him until he's going to go away, or if he's dumb enough to eat it forever, they'll let him eat it forever. And that's how the system's set up. So the guy, the high ad rank, that they really want to encourage to stick around because they have good ads, they give them the best traffic at the best rates, most of the traffic, the most traffic, and the guy that they don't care about if he stays or leaves, traffic at the highest rates, and only the traffic that they don't want to give the good guy, essentially. With that said, that gives you a general idea of, in terms of cannibalization, of how PMax cannibalizes search campaigns. You can actually see this for yourself. Your ad copy for PMax campaign is going to be different than what it is going to be for search campaigns. And if you have both of them running and you have your headlines and descriptions filled in on your PMax campaign, you can just see for a bunch of your different keywords which version of the ad shows up. And you'll probably for sure see 20 to 50% of the ads you see for the 50 vanity searches that you make for your business, searching for your keywords, are going to be the PMax ad from the PMax campaign you have, if you will. With that said, if you're smart and take the advice I'm giving you here, which is to just run PMax for e-commerce businesses, and then with that, only run a feed-only setup where you're not running headlines and descriptions in there, you leave them all blank, then the search campaign is going to pick up basically 100% of the search campaign placements. You're not going to get any of the cannibalization of the search placements at all. It doesn't have the headline and description there in order to make a search ad, search placements at all inside that PMax campaign. These are all little tricks that you have to know about Google Ads. Google Ads is getting more and more tricky all the time, specifically because Google's playing this game where they got to constantly change up the rules so that their advertisers will start eating more and more of the traffic that nobody wants in order to increase their revenue. If you're going to be able to make money in the future, and this goes for other platforms as well, Bing especially, / Microsoft, you're going to have to understand how to block traffic if your ads are going to stay consistently profitable and you're going to make money. What makes money today won't make money tomorrow necessarily because they're going to change the rules, a bunch of the traffic nobody wants. And this is unavoidable. So you got to stay abreast of these changes. And the only way you could do that is if you learn from somebody who's actually managing 100 freaking accounts and sees it as it comes in real time and then reports on it, which may sound easy to find, but it's not. I'm one guy of very, very few on YouTube actually doing that because most of the guys on YouTube are trying to sell courses. They're not managing any ads. Or they run an agency. They're not managing any ads. Very, very few people are managing dozens of ad accounts like that because it's a full-time job doing that and you don't have time to make content. I literally have to spend my weekends sharing what works, and I spend all week long just doing our client strategy. So if you're going to learn from anybody, you learn from myself first at the very least, but so you should subscribe if you haven't already, if you're serious about making money with ads. But you got to stay abreast of this stuff, which again, like I said, you could look at it like, oh my gosh, I have to deal with all this from Google just to be able to do business. You could look at it that way, or you could look at it as Google's a great opportunity and the changing of it will make sure all the amateur players in your market won't be able to make any money because they're too lazy to stay abreast of any of these changes. And that's the way you really have to look at it, in my opinion, because whether you're having a bad time or not, it's just what makes money and what doesn't. And when everybody knows about a channel, whoever does it the best wins. And that's just how it's going to be. And it's always going to be like that. You should also check out my blog, by the way, at guaranteedppc.com/blog. I have the strategies we're using to guarantee results for clients at our firm laid out with the screenshots and everything else. You should check that out as well if you like the channel. If you have any questions about anything I'm talking about here today, or any ad-related question for that matter, you can always leave me a comment below. I get back to every single person who leaves me a question or comment on this channel, usually within 24 hours time. So with that said itself, we had a Amish furniture store, just to give you the case study that I mentioned that I was going to give you here. And we wanted to see how much of the search campaign placement traffic is getting cannibalized by the PMax campaign versus the regular search campaigns that we also had running for that market. Given, like I said before, we only run PMax in markets where we're doing in e-commerce markets. There's a way now with PMax campaigns where you can use Google Ads' API to extract data from the API about the different placement types. That is, how much of your ad spend on PMax has went to shopping, how much of it has went to search, how much of it has went to demand gen, how much of it has went to display, how much of it has went to YouTube. All 5. Can't count today. And with that said, that case study itself, because some clients most clients we have, they don't really care what percentage gets spent where, because you can't do anything about it with Google. At the end of the day, you can't do much with PMax. So knowing that your money is getting wasted when you're still making a profit doesn't help you a lot. Some clients want to know this information. And so we set up systems to collect that. And with this particular client, we did. And we found of the spend that we were spending through that PMax campaign that was landing on search itself was right around 17% of the total ad budget of that particular PMax campaign. Okay? When you did the math, that 17% of that PMax campaign budget itself was going to ended up being specifically about overall in total about 15% of our total search campaign traffic itself when you added it all up itself. Right, basically the same proportions. Given that the PMax campaign spends a lot more than the search campaigns do for that particular client, I mentioned 20 to 50% of your traffic is going to be, of your search traffic is going to be cannibalized through your PMax campaign, but only short term. Eventually down the road, and this client had been running ads for years already, eventually it's going to be less. It's going to be less mainly because at least if you set up your search ads correctly, where they're actually set up right and they're going to perform better than the crappy search ads that Google sets up through your PMax campaign for your users, it's going to send the traffic that converts the best effectively through the search campaign, to your search placements there. Overall provides a better experience to their users. So eventually it should only be 10 to 20% of your search overall spend should be through PMax. When you look at total search spend, PMax versus your standalone search campaigns itself. And of the PMax spend that you have, 10 to 20% of your spend goes to that search campaign as well, if you have the headlines and descriptions and everything in there. The reason why we had the headlines and descriptions and everything in there in the client's PMax campaigns, by the way, because if you recall, like you said, like, Corey, I thought you said you use feed-only setup on PMax, where you have no headlines and descriptions and everything else in there that they let you do still. If we inherit an ad account with PMax running that has headlines and descriptions, we leave it there, because if that campaign's been running and it's getting even halfway decent results already, and you claw that back out, your campaign's going to go back into learning mode for a while, and your results are going to go right in the toilet short term. We're talking 60, 70, 80% drop in results short term, while it goes back into learning mode and recalibrates. And we know this because we've done it before. So you can't do that. You're just now married to it. It's always going to take on some portion of the search campaign placements, or the search placements, through that PMax campaign, but it's fine because it'll also self-limit. That is, if the placements don't get the ROI that the campaign set up to ask for, it won't run it. And it's still only going to be 10 to 20% of the search placement traffic. So, and it's going to be getting a return that we needed to get anyway. Otherwise, Google would weed it out of the system. So we just kind of live with it. Versus, yeah, you could say it would be smarter to rip that Band-Aid off, take it out of there, so none of the search campaign traffic goes to that PMax campaign anymore. That's easy to say when it's my business and I understand this stuff and I understand how it works. When you try to explain it to a client and then you rip the Band-Aid off and their sales get cut in half for 2 weeks while this thing recalibrates, they ain't buying it, or at the very least, they ain't having it. So we just learned we're not going to, when a client has a several $1 million a year business and they have overhead, they can't take that, because most of them are relying on, that might be half of their overall sales volume comes from that Google Ads account. So they can't take a 25% hit in their sales revenue for 2 weeks to just rip this Band-Aid off, because they got bills. And if you calculate the loss there, it's a big time short-term loss. We might lose 40 grand doing that. Whereas, yes, we're going to lose 200 grand over the next 10 years not doing it. But it's amortized over such a long period of time that it's okay for the client. It's better for the client to do that. For me, like I said, for my business, I'm going to rip that Band-Aid off and just get it done. Or more realistically, I just know about it ahead of time, and I'm not going to set up for my business PMax with headlines and descriptions at all from the start, so I don't have to do it. If I were to buy a business with PMax campaigns, I would undo it, as long as I'm not already it's not a huge company already, unless we're in a really strong financial position. So I could take that 40K hit up front to get the 200K back in the long term. So all the search placements go through are dedicated to search campaigns. Individual things you need to know. You should subscribe to this channel to learn them. If you have more money than time, your best bet is just to reach out to our firm and hire myself to do a coaching call. In a 30-minute coaching call, I can tell you how to uncork your sales and your business, look at your site, your campaigns, pricing strategy, your packaging, everything to see if your ads are the problem, and if so, what you need to do with your ads to get you to the next level in terms of revenue and profit in your business. Or we just manage your ads for you. Like I mentioned earlier in the video, we have a performance guarantee we offer at our firm that nobody else offers. We can guarantee you get so much lift in your profitability of your ads, or we won't take a management fee. If you're interested in that, you can reach out to me at guaranteedppc.com. We also sell ad templates. We've already worked in basically where you're operating. So if you're an e-commerce business, let's say you're selling printer toner, you're in South Africa, you could sell it there because we sell it in the US, or you could sell it in the UK. Or you have a template, we have a plumbing campaign template, and you're in Tampa and you want to use it in Boston. There's no harm, no foul doing that. We've got hundreds of these templates now because we've been in business for over a decade now. So the chances are high we've already got the template you want. If you want to start a new business, that's literally the easiest place to start because A, the business will work, it's a viable product or service, and you got the hardest part out of the way, which is the ads that are going to sell at a profitable rate. If you're interested in that, reach out to me at guaranteedppc.com. I can have a conversation with you about what we have available there. With that said, I'm going to wrap it up with that though. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.
Remember when I said PMax Campaign S was important during this video? Well, this video here tells you how to do it.